Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for Bible study tonight. Tonight we have a special treat. We're going to go back and see something I did a few years ago called Daughters with Daddy Issues and How to Overcome Them. There is no doubt in our generation that many women have grown up and have had daddy issues, and those daddy issues have affected their relationships and affected their lives. Well, we're going to deal with this in this series, and not just deal with it, but how we can overcome it. So grab everybody, sit back and enjoy part 1 of Daughters with Daddy Issues and How to Overcome Them. To the Gospel of John, chapter 8. The Gospel of John, chapter 8. And I know that this is Easter, Resurrection Sunday is what I prefer to call it. I understand that. If I can just be honest with you, I've been wrestling over the last couple weeks, really, about whether I was going to minister a traditional kind of Resurrection Sunday, Easter message kind of thing, and wrestled with it all week, last week before and all week this week, and I just decided that I was not going to do that, that we were going to go right into the next series, which I believe that actually God has put this on my heart a long time ago, and so we're going to go right into it. So it's not going to be a traditional Easter message. We're going to go right into something that that God put on my heart a long time ago. We just got finished doing a series that we have labeled Manhood in a Fatherless Generation. That was a great series, and so we're going to follow that up. And I was praying about this, and I believe it's time to do it. So we're going to deal with something today for the ladies. Are y'all with me on that? Because we are living in, please understand this, because the reality is, I know y'all are here, we came Easter Sunday, thank God for that, but the reality is we come to receive from God. We don't want to just come just because it's Easter Sunday morning, we're here. I don't know about you, all of us, whether you acknowledge it or not, we need to receive from God. How many of y'all need something from Him today? You need something from Him. I mean, we don't come waste our time. We need something from the Father, and I do believe that this word is for us right now. Y'all ready? All right. I followed the trail of this young lady on social media some time ago, 19 years old, never met her, from another state, don't know who she is, anything like that. And but she was very unhappy on her birthday. It was in the evening, and she was talking about how she wanted her father to call her. She was hopeful, but she was doubtful because she talked about how he never really was in her life. He always let her down. Always let her down. So not long after, her hurt turned to anger. And she went on a profanity-laced tirade about how he wasn't ever there. And he was never there for her. And then shortly after this, she went on that profanity-laced tirade. She goes on another profanity-laced tirade, talking about all these other men out here that they ain't, the S word, and I'm not going to say it. Now, I want to use some words as I go in. I'm not going to use any profane words, but I'm going to use some words as we talk about this, because I want to bring the point that this is how the language has been used, whatever I can say it on Sunday morning. But I want to be a little edgy on this. But she went on to talk about that. And so then she just angry and hurt. And then lumped every other man in that same category. Everybody say daddy issues. So another young lady on social media, about the same age, whose father was obviously not around. And I'm going to use this name. And she talked about, she said, I need a nigga. And I know I know it's a little edgy, just stay with me. But that's what she said. And then she went on to say, I need a nigga from the hood. This is all in her social media. Now, I don't know who this person is, never met her, not out of the state. Just bear with me on the language. It's not profanity, but I want you to make the point. She said, I need one from the hood. This is 1 week, and literally a few days later, she posted some pictures of her and this guy from the hood. Since y'all didn't like that word. In her bedroom with her. Now, they wasn't nudity, they were just in there. So it wasn't like that kind of thing, but it looked like they were apparently happy. People were commenting and all this stuff about them and their togetherness, etc. And literally, the next day, the very next day, she goes on social media and says, I got a black eye, and asks the world, should I leave this man or not? Everybody say daddy issues. And I got to tell you, whenever she was conversating, every other word was an F word, B word, S word. I mean, it was like, you can't get a phrase out without using one of them profane words. Not even a phrase. Everybody say daddy issues. Social media. Saw another young lady about the same age. Again, out of state, don't know who she is, never met her, don't know anything about her. But she was bragging about how she wasn't broke and how much money she was making turning tricks every night. So she was either high class, call girl, prostitute, or something, but she was, and then she went on talking about how she was with an Arab man the previous night. Bragging about how much money she was making, and then goes on about, and then she says, proudly says it, I'm a hoe. Proudly. Come on now, y'all uncomfortable with that? No, you're not, because you hear it all the time anyway. I'm just saying it. That's what she said. I'm not going to use anything profane, but I'm trying to make the point. Proud of it. Going on about how frugal she was with her money. So people's comments were, well, your parents must have raised you right if you're frugal with your money. Then she goes on, they didn't raise her at all. They want nothing. I won't use the word she used. And somebody asked her, who raised you? She said, the streets raised me. And she said, I don't want a man. She didn't use that word man, but if he not a pimp or sugar daddy, I don't want him. No, she said it. Everybody say daddy issues. Why would young ladies, 19, 20, 21 years old, be talking like that? Why? Where does that come from? And then fast forward a few years. Where are they going to be? With that kind of mindset, that kind of thinking, that kind of spirit, where would they be? Fast forward 5, 10 years. Where are they going to be? How many men will they come in? What kind of life are they going to have? Everybody say daddy issues. Come on, somebody. We're going to be talking about over the next, we're just going to introduce this today. Daughters with daddy issues and how to overcome them. Everybody say daughters with daddy issues and how to overcome them. Come on and say it again. Everybody say daughters with daddy issues and how to overcome them. And I know this is Resurrection Sunday and this is Easter Sunday, but this is the reality. The same Jesus that died for our sins died so that we can be free. We're going to deal with that in just a moment. And the reality is, if he died to save us, not just to save us from hell, but so that we can be with him, it's time for us to be in this life. And I assure you, ladies, that it doesn't matter how old or young you are, I would dare say the majority of women in here have had daddy issues. Because, and let me define daddy issues as we go through this. I understand that's not necessarily a psychiatric term. It's more of a street term, but let me define it for you. Daddy issues are defined as problems in a person's life because of the absence or perverse actions of their father. Let me say that again. Daddy issues are problems in a person's life because of the absence or perverse actions of their father. Sometimes, more often than not, women have daddy issues because they were abused by daddy, either sexually, physically, verbally, or emotionally. And sometimes that's held down so deep inside, nobody ever talks about it. But if you do a poll and people were really honest, I would dare say it's about 70 to 80% based on what Pastor Payton was telling me. And he's a licensed counselor, has been for decades. So nobody knows because we just kind of keep it in. But they create problems in a young woman or woman's life. Come on, stay with me. Everybody say daddy issues. So either he wasn't there or his actions were perverse. Or even if he was there, he wasn't available emotionally. He wasn't there. He was basically there in body only. Really wasn't there for them. Oh, look, come on, somebody. Everybody say daughters with daddy issues and how to overcome them. Some of y'all say, if it's an uncomfortable topic on Easter Sunday, forgive me. But I'd rather have you uncomfortable and free than jumping and shouting and still bound when you leave out the door. Are y'all with me? Everybody say daughters with daddy issues. Does everybody have John chapter 8? John chapter 8. We're going to just introduce this today. John chapter 8. Because this is the reality. We have to identify that we have them, but we need to overcome them. You don't want to live the rest of your life struggling to have issues because of the failure of a man. Come on, somebody. John chapter 8. Has everybody got John chapter 8? Now, I love this verse. It's a refrigerator verse is what I call it, but look at verse 31. John chapter 8, verse 31. Then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, if you abide or you continue in my word, you are my disciples indeed. Everybody say continue. Everybody say continue. Come on, everybody say again, say continue. It's not a one-time prayer. It's not a one-time event. I don't know, sometimes we come to church and we feel like, especially for those of us who believe in the things of the Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit, we feel like we come in and somebody can lay hands on us and we fall on the floor and we come up speaking in tongues, that everything we've ever dealt with from childhood is going to be all right. And 9 times out of 10, that's not true. We understand the Spirit of God can bring instantaneous deliverance, but most of the time, if it's that deep-rooted and it is that long, it's going to take some time to come out, that we are going to have to continue. That's not a one service. That's not a one time. That's not a one event. We're going to have to fight that thing for a while to get it out. But your future is worth the fight. Tell that person beside you, your future is worth the fight. Verse 32. Now watch this. Let me read it again. Then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, if you abide or continue in my word, you are my disciples indeed. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The question was, free from what? I mean, what does the truth make us free from? Come on, I'm asking. Free from what? What are we free from? I mean, if the truth's going to make us free, what are we free from? And then people say, well, it's free from sin. Everybody look this way. And I will submit to you, stay with me. Not just freedom from sin, but freedom from the effects of sin. Oh, that's a big deal. It's not just freedom from sin, but freedom from the effects of sin. My freedom from sin, all of my sins are washed away. I can go to heaven when I die. But if I'm not free from the effects of sin, I can go to heaven when I die and have hell all on the way till I get there. And Jesus died so we can not only go to heaven, but we can be free on this earth. So we're not just free from sin, but free from the effect of sin. And not just the effect of my own sin, but the effect of the sin of everybody who hurt me. So in other words, the effect of sin, every person with daddy issues are affected because of the sin of one man. They are affected because of the sin of their daddy. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He wasn't there. Oh, he did do this, and he shouldn't have done this. And so because of that, daughters have daddy issues because of the sin of their father, but we can be free, not only to go to heaven, but free from the effect of sin. So even though it was him and it wasn't us, but the effect of his sin affects us. And we don't have to be, we can be free. Tell that person beside you, you can be free. Come on, tell them you can be free. See, I want to deal with this. Look at this again. See, it's not just the sin, but it's the effect of sin. And if we're honest, the pain you have in your life, no matter what it is, I know we all look good on Easter Sunday morning now. We're all made up and look nice and everything like that. But the reality is there are some deep hurts we have. And if we're honest, those hurts have come because of the sin of a man. Now, you don't want to admit it. I'm sure you. And we can be free. Here we go. Everybody say daddy issues. Now watch this. I'm looking at verse 32 one more time. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Y'all see the word make? See, far too often we misquote that verse. See, I know some more modern translations have the word set free, But the more appropriate word that the King James Version has, the New King James Version has, is make you free. There is a profound difference between being set free and being made free. Tell the person beside and tell them, you need to wake up and hear this. It's important. See, when you are set free, that's passive, and it implies you have the option to be free or stay bound. When you are set free, that implies somebody just opens the door, opens the gate, and gives you the option to leave. But really, you can stay bound if you want to. Uh-oh. When you are set free, you have the option to escape. I'm going to say that again. When you are set free, you have the option to escape. Uh-oh. That's different than being made free. Because see, some people can stay in their cell even though the gate's open. Some people will choose to stay in their cell even though the gate is open. And somebody, why in the world would somebody who's in jail or bound have a gate open for them to leave? Why in the world would they stay in their cell when they have the opportunity to escape? Why would somebody do that? Okay. Because see, sometimes people are bound so long that they don't even realize they're in handcuffs because they have adapted to using them. So they are bound so long, they don't even realize they're bound. So when the gate is open for them to leave, they don't even realize I got to go anywhere. They have adapted so well to being bound that they don't even realize they're bound. So what's it got to do with daddy issues? When you are made free, somebody goes in and rescues you. When somebody is captive and they are made free, stay with me. It's a difference between the Navy SEALs going in, overpowering captors and taking a hostage and rescuing them versus somebody who the gate was left open and they just escaped. You understand there's a difference between being rescued and escaping. Come on, stay with me. I'm going somewhere. There's a difference between being rescued and escaping. When we are rescued, somebody goes in, overpowers the enemy, and takes us out. You don't ever see the hostage resist the Navy SEALs. We come to get you. They say, well, no, you're coming out of here. Even if you don't even realize that you're bound, you're coming out. Because you have been rescued. There's a big difference between being rescued and escaping. And this is the reality. When we are bound to sin, none of us, we cannot escape. We can't escape sin and we can't escape the consequences of sin. But when we are rescued, now stay with me. When we are rescued, there's a huge difference. And this is where we are. Many daughters, we're talking about daughters with daddy issues. There are more than I don't even, can't even count a percentage of women in this nation who have daddy issues and are struggling because of them, hurting because of them, and don't even realize that they're bound, don't even realize they have them. You know, I mentioned in the last series, everybody say this, stay with me. I mentioned in the last series that the most dangerous enemy is an enemy that you don't even realize is there. The most dangerous enemy is the enemy that you don't realize is there. The same thing is true. The most deadly problem you'll ever have is the problem you don't know that you have. Let me say that again. Thank you. The most deadly problem that you have is the one that you don't know that you have. Can I let that sink in for a second? Can I let that marinate for a second? I got some chicken marinated at home because I'm going to grill it out today. I'm sorry, I just had a flashback. I'm thinking about it. Can I let that marinate for a second? The most dangerous problem you have is the one that you don't know that you have. The reason that I say that is because even though the truth can set us free, or make us free, but if it just set free, how many times we just stay bound, stay in a situation where Jesus made us free, but we stay in that situation because we don't know we're bound. We don't even realize we have these issues. How many marriages could have been saved if a husband or wife knew this was my problem? How many children situations could have been changed if they just knew I had this problem? The most dangerous problem you have is the one you don't know you have. Satan is a thief, and a thief is not a robber. A thief does not come, clock you over the head, and take your money. A thief waits till it gets dark until you sleep and don't even know that so you don't even know he's there, and he takes from you. Well, that's the nature of the devil. He would rather destroy your life, and you don't even know it's him. He'd rather ruin your life, and you don't even know why it's being ruined. He'd rather mess you up, and you don't even know how. But once you know how, and once you know where, and once you know it's him, we got to deal with this. Everybody say daddy issues. Turn to the book of Esther, chapter 2. The book of Esther, chapter 2. And as we go through this, we're not going to get into it today, but as we go through the subsequent weeks of this series, we're going to go through some signs. And we went through a few of them some months ago, but some signs that a woman has daddy issues and what to do about it. Because I can't tell you how many women I've seen in the course of my ministry who have a difficult time in relationships with anybody because of their father, because of the failure of their daddy, and so therefore they don't know how to relate to men, have a difficult time with men, are angry at their father, and then ultimately angry with men in general. Make every man they come in contact with pay for the sins of their daddy. Come on, stay with me. God has not apportioned that for you. And he may not have been worth a nickel minus 5 cents. I get it. But you don't have to have your life negatively affected for the remainder of your life because of what he did or did not do. But if you refuse to confront it, we're going to deal with that in just a minute. If you refuse to confront it, you can go year after year after year after year after year with the same problem if you won't acknowledge it and refuse to confront it. Come on, so everybody got Esther. Esther. Now let me give you the background of this story of Esther. For those of y'all that not familiar with this book of Esther, Esther, the Jewish people were captive to the Persians, and they were held captive there, and the king was a pagan king, but he had a queen. Her name was Vashti. Vashti means beautiful, so she was obviously a good-looking woman. And so he and all his knucklehead boys, they were in a drunken stupor, and he called for her because he wanted to show off. Now he's the king. The Persians had the greatest empire on the earth at this time. You understand? I mean, the greatest power on earth at this time. He called for her. She said, "I ain't coming." So not only did she disrespect her husband, but she rebelled against the king. And he said, no, you got to go. And so he sent her away, and then basically had a whole thing going on where he's going to try to find the new queen. And so all the good-looking young women in the kingdom were brought together. Are y'all with me on that? And Esther was one of them. Look at Esther chapter 2. Look at verse 7. But her daddy was dead. Mom and dad both. Look, verse 7. And Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. The young woman was lovely and beautiful. When you look at that word lovely, it has to do with her form, very shapely. So not only was she had a body and she was good looking. You know, I like reading the scripture, just honest. I mean, sometimes we can read about real religious. Now, come on, man. I mean, had going on. Are you with me? But her mom and dad were both dead. And Mordecai, which was this was his uncle's daughter, he took her in. Mordecai, say with me, Mordecai was a man of God. This man served God. He served the Lord. He was a man of God, honorable man. That made all the difference in her life. Watch it. Look at this. The young woman was lovely and very beautiful. When her father and mother died, Mordecai took her as his own daughter. That's key. We're going to come back to that. Look at verse 8. So it was when the king commanded and decree was heard, and when many young women were gathered at Shushan, the citadel, under the custodian of Haggai, that Esther also was taken to the king's palace, into the care of Haggai, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, the custodian of the women. So in other words, she was good looking, everybody knew it. So he's the emperor. He said, okay, I need to find, so they got the best of the best of the best in the kingdom. All over the kingdom, all these good looking women. Come on, stay with me. Now, this guy, Haggai, we're going to see this in a minute. He was the custodian of the women. Now, if you know anything about this, when the emperor had a harem, which he did at the time, the man that cared for them was a eunuch. You know what a eunuch is? A eunuch is a man who has been snipped of his manhood. Let me say that again. He has been snipped of his manhood. And the reason for that is because before the king put another man over charge of the harem, I got to know, you're not going to be messing with my women, man. We got to have that understanding. So there was no way possible for him to have any relation with these women. Everybody, is that painfully clear? Oh, there's a point I'm making with that. He was a eunuch. I mean, all his manhood was gone. He was just gone. All the brothers understand what I'm talking about. He just gone. Everybody got it? All right, here we go. So here now, see, look at it. Look at verse 9. Now the young woman pleased him, and she obtained his favor. Then we're going to stop here for a moment. She pleased him. Now, I know if you didn't know that, you could be saying, well, she must have been up on him. Because we just read she was good looking, had a nice body and all that. She must have been up on him, and he was like, hey, when the king ain't looking, we're going to work this. No. Because he was a eunuch. So because he was a eunuch, it couldn't be sexual. And not only that, you had all the good looking women from the whole country. I mean, come on now, look. Ladies, and look, I'm not a woman, but I know how sometimes, you with your guy and you spotting them out. You probably know the kind of woman your man likes. And the minute you see one, you trust him, I get it, but you looking. Come on now, I know y'all saying, no, not me, I don't ever think it. Please. And so, every good-looking woman in the land was there. And so why did she find favor with him and nobody else did? It wasn't sexual. He couldn't do nothing. He was a eunuch. He couldn't if he tried. So it wasn't that. Well, if it wasn't her looks, if it wasn't her body, then what was it? I'm saying, if it wasn't her beauty and it wasn't her body, then what was it about her that gained her favor whenever all the other women didn't? I mean, I'm asking a question. Uh-oh. Ooh. Can I help you out a little bit? I'm not going. I'll just mention it now, but I'm gonna deal with it more in the coming weeks. But one of the ways to identify a woman with daddy issues is that she is overly sexually aggressive. Come on, somebody. And it doesn't take a woman long to figure out when she grows up that her body can get the attention of a man. It don't take long. It don't take long for her to learn that. Come on, somebody. Because ladies can, but this is my point. This was not Esther. Because every other woman was good looking, and he couldn't do anything anyway. Can I give y'all a good piece of counsel, ladies? How many of y'all want to know? Now see, if your sexual prowess is the only thing you have going for you, you will fall woefully short of being queen. Everybody look this way. If your sexual prowess is all you got going for you, you will fall woefully short of being queen. Now you can be somebody something. Oh, come on, can I just be real with you? Because if you're just a female form, any man of the world is going to look at you and want to be with you. That's how men are of the world. Can we just be honest? Can we just label it that? That doesn't make you special. That just makes you a woman. And you have the right parts. But if you want to be queen, you better have a whole lot more than sexual prowess. Okay. Can I let that marinate for a second? It's amazing because women think, well, they dress up and they do all this stuff and every other man is gawking at them and they think, boy, I must got it all going on. Well, you don't realize the last 15 women came before you, we doing the same thing too. You just happen to be the 15th one. And when you go on, number 16 is going to be coming, they're going to be doing the same thing. Because you have a female form, men are drawn to that, men of the world don't care, they want to be with you no matter what. Because you got the right parts. But I have not met a woman who don't want to be somebody's queen. Verse 9. Now the young woman pleased him, and she obtained his favor. So he readily gave beauty preparations to her besides her allowance. So you know what happened? The women that came in from the nation, they had 12 months to be prepared to meet the king. They had one night with him. Some of y'all are familiar with the story, but if you have not, let me explain it to you. They all came in. They had 6 months. They were trained in preparation, oils and all that, and another 6 months in this kind of perfumes and all of that. So they had 12 months being prepared for one night. Who's training you? I'm just asking a question. Who's training you? I'm just asking a question. Who's training you? I mean, you don't want to be, I hear people talking to me, I'm a queen and all this. Really? What does that mean? What does that mean? I mean, I'm just saying, I know because I hear those comments all the time coming from everybody. And then I heard those comments and I hear a whole lot of four-letter words before and the four-letter words after. Can I help you a little bit? Queens don't talk like that. Women of the world talk like that. Queens don't talk like that. So who's training you? Because you 12 months. And so what happened is because she had favor, he gave her more stuff. We're gonna go. I am coming to a point where stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. Then 7 choice maidservants were provided for her from the king's palace. And he moved her and her maidservants to the best place in the house of the women. No, now, I don't know how many women it was, but it was a lot. We're talking about a big nation. Okay? So she gets favor, and it wasn't her beauty and it wasn't her body, then what was it? I'm coming back to that one. So she gets 7 servants to help her, and then he gives her the more of what she's supposed to get, and then on top of that, he moves her to the best place in the house. That wasn't all. She had one shot, right? She had one night with the king, and this way it worked out. Every night, one person would go in, they'd be with the king, then another one would go in the next night, then another the next night, another the next night. They didn't even go back to see him unless he called for them by name. He could have literally a couple hundred, 300 or 400 wives and never see the king again unless he called them by name. Can I help you, ladies? It better be more than your parts to get you called by name. Come on now, look, can we just be real? I mean, he's the king. He's administrating the kingdom. And then every night, he's another one come in. She's been training for a whole year just for this one night for him. He's probably tired, so he's with her. All right, wake up next day, she goes back to be with the women. If he don't remember her name, that's her last chance to be with him. Then next night, there's another one come in. He's doing the work and doing his thing every night. Can you imagine? We don't know what order she was, but it could have been 4 or 5 months. It could have been a couple hundred women. Says, okay, who we got tonight? No, I know that sounds bad, but it's what happened. So you want to be queen, how you stand out? Those other women went through the same training. 12 months. They were all the best looking of the land. What was going to make you stand out? Come on, ladies, talk to me. So can you imagine all of a sudden you've been preparing for 12 months, you get one night, he's tired. Because he done been with everybody else every night for the last how many nights? Now I know, man, I know how we are men, but after a while, we just tired. I need to go a little further. Can I paint the picture? Now watch this. Skip down to verse 15. Skip down to verse 15. Now when the turn came for Esther, now watch this, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, whom he had taken as his daughter. Why did the Bible say that? I mean, why did the Bible go through and name her daddy and then go through and talk about Mordecai who raised her? I mean, why would the Bible go out of its way to say that? I don't have the time. If you go read chapters earlier, we read Mordecai's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. See, sometimes we read the Bible, we say, well, why they waste all this time talking about who begot who? Because we don't understand the culture. We don't understand the importance of a father. We don't understand the importance of what a father gives a child. And so when we read that Mordecai was a great man of God, there's a reason why he was a great man of God. His daddy was a great man of God. His grandfather was a great man of God. His great-grandfather. And now, consequently, now he's raising Esther, who has a chance to be queen. And please understand, it was the instructions of Mordecai that brought out the queen in Esther. I want to let that sink in for a second. It was the instructions of Mordecai that brought out the queen in Esther. Don't you think he taught her this is how you respond to a man? This is how you speak to a man. This is how you deal with a man. And that eunuch was a man. Even though his parts were gone, he was still a man. And no doubt she went in, and the way she addressed him, and the way she spoke to him, and the way she dealt with him with respect, he said, I like you. Lord have mercy. You ever seen some good-looking women before? Be snotty and arrogant? I know it's none of y'all in here. I know y'all are beautiful and all that. You ever seen them before? Some of them. I mean, and I have no doubt that many of those women walked past him with this arrogant attitude, like, you know. But you know what happened? Everybody stay with me. I am going somewhere with this. Mordecai's instructions brought out the queen in Esther. Why? Because a queen is only a queen if she's in relationship with the king. A queen is only a queen if she's in relationship with the king. The king is a man. We don't have any record here that the women taught these women how to be queens. Oh, okay. Let me say that again. We don't go back and read this and say, well, all the great women of the kingdom came in and taught the women how to be queen. They weren't queens, and they weren't married to a king. It was Mordecai's instructions that brought out the queen in Esther. I ask you, who's bringing out the queen in you? Who is bringing out the queen in you? I can say, well, it's just Emmy. No, you don't. You don't know how to be queen unless you've been trained to be queen. Let me help you a little bit. You don't know how to be queen unless you've been trained to be queen. Nobody's born knowing how to be queen. You're born being a woman, and there's some things instinctive, but you're not born know how to be a queen. There's a reason why this man liked Esther, because Mordecai taught her. Uh-oh. Okay, now watch this. You want to know how we know? Keep going. Watch this. Verse 15. Now when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his daughter to go into the king, she requested, because we read earlier, they had a chance to take anything they wanted. I forgot to tell you. They had a chance when they went ahead. We only had one night. So they can get anything they want. Say, what you want? You got one shot. If the king remembers you, you coming back. If not, c'est la vie. So watch what she does. She requested nothing but what Haggai, the king's eunuch, the custodian of the women, advised. Now, you know, he already gave favor. Don't you think even though he's a eunuch, he's a man. He knows the king. Don't you think he told her what to do? Now look, come here, baby. Now you know what? This is the thing. What we don't see is him offering advice. She only requested what he advised. I'm no doubt she went to him and says, what do I do? I'm glad you said. Come here, let me tell you about the king. This is what the king likes. This is what he don't like. This is what the king loves. This is what he don't like. This is what he don't love. Don't do this. Stay away from this. Make sure you do this. He knew the king. I asked the question, ladies, who's advising you? I'm asking. Talk to me. We're talking about daughters with daddy issues. Because what Satan wants to do is have the sin of your father stain the rest of your existence with men. And it doesn't have to be that way. She didn't have her mom and dad were both dead. But God put somebody in her life to give her the instructions so she know what to do and how to deal with men. Somebody's got to give you that. And so she went and said, what do I do? Took her one shot. And if you read the story, let's look at this. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all who saw her. If you read the story, the king remembered her. You know, you got to be doing something. When you're in competition with hundreds of women, you got one night only with the king, one night, and you leave an impression in one night. And please understand, ladies, I want to make this painfully clear. It's more than your parts. She was instructed by Mordecai and advised by the custodian of the women. These were two men. Where am I going with this? I ask you, who's instructing you to be queen? We're talking about daughters with daddy issues. One of the reasons why, and I'm almost done, that you see women who have these challenges, most of the time their relationships are just like this. Because there was no man. Now please understand, this is not some chauvinistic, but there's a place that a daddy has in a young woman's life. There are instructions that God intended for him to give her so that she understands who she is and how to relate to men. And no doubt Esther's relationship with Mordecai taught her how to handle men. So she got favor with the custodian of the women who was a eunuch. She got favor with the king, and she became the queen. And let me give you God's plan on this, and I'm going to finish with this. What nobody knew is that there was an evil man named Haman who was plotting to destroy the Jews. And the Bible says Mordecai instructed Esther, don't tell anybody you're a Jew. And she followed his instruction. Now, you know, some girls would have said, well, who are you? I'm the queen now. I can do what I want. She followed that instruction. And all of a sudden, all the men around the king did not know she was a Jew. And this evil man didn't either. Plotted, used by Satan to try to destroy the Jews in one day. It was a plot of Satan. And God used her position to save her people from that destruction. And stay with me. I'm gonna read this and I'm going to finish with this. And as we go through the course of the series, don't miss it, because we're going to go through these signs. And just like I did with the men, every week of the series, not this week, but every week of the series, we're going to pray for a different age group of women. All of them. We're going to pray for the little ones, we're going to pray for the young women, and we're going to pray for the more mature women, because the reality is, if we're honest, many of you, if not most of you, have been affected by the sin and poor decisions of a man. And if we're not wise, and if we don't do these things I'm getting ready to go through, those things can affect us the rest of our lives. Can I give you these things real quick? Can I give you this? Ladies, and we're going to go through the signs in a few weeks. Don't miss part 2 and 3. But if you identify, you know you have them. These are the steps you got to follow if you want to be free of them. Can I give you these real quick? And then we're going to pray. Can I do that? Real quick. Here we go. Let me give you these very quick. Number 1 is awareness. Awareness. You have to know you have them. If you don't know you have them, you can't fight it. If you don't, remember I told you the most dangerous problem is the one you don't realize you have. Well, you can't fight something that you don't know is there. You can't fight an enemy if you don't know where he is. You can't take down a problem or deal with a problem if you don't know it's there. Awareness, you got to know it's there. Number 2, and this is a big one, confrontation. Everybody say confrontation. If you know you have them, you got to be willing, as ugly as that might be, to look in the mirror, even though it wasn't your fault, and say, I have these issues. and I am going to fight them. You got to confront it. You cannot conquer what you will not confront. You cannot beat anything you will not fight. You cannot bring it down if you won't deal with it. Come on, say with me. Number 3. Y'all ready for this one? Divine intervention. You're going to need God. It's just that simple. I'm almost done. You are going to need God's divine hand, because there's no way to get past this without being rescued. We talked about that earlier. You're going to need God's divine hand. Number 4, and I'm almost done. Some of y'all may not like this one, but it's true. Male guidance. Thank you. She said, that's right. You agree with me if nobody else does. Male guidance. Ladies, some man has got to give you guidance and instruction on how to deal with men. You can't get that from a woman. Some things you can get from her, but some things you need to get from a man. Uh-oh. God will put somebody in your life. You got to be willing to listen. Now, if you ignore them or refuse to hear them, okay, and number 5, and I'm done with this. Practice forgiveness. Everybody say that with me. Everybody say practice forgiveness. Practice forgiveness. How about a 3rd time? Practice forgiveness. 4th time, practice forgiveness. 5 times, practice forgiveness. If you harbor resentment and bitterness, it doesn't matter how much instruction you get. The first man that comes along that looks like, even smells like daddy, all of a sudden that comes out. You are going to have to forgive him no matter what he did. That's going to take the Spirit of God to do it, but you got to forgive him. And once you can forgive him and you can get that, you're aware and you confront and you bring God in and you get guidance from a man, then you're going to find that every relationship you have, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to choose the right kind of men and stop dealing with knuckleheads. That's the first thing. Second to that, the right man you do get, you're going to know how to deal with them because you were taught how. And you'll be somebody's queen instead of somebody's one-night stand because you know how to deal with the king. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I trust that part 1 of Daughters with Daddy Issues and How to Overcome Them was a great blessing to you and your family. And next week will be part 2, so don't miss it. Once again, thank you for being with us tonight. Have a wonderful evening.